Tim from #Flint. I'm here with Adam Gerics, who's a longtime Flint resident and activist. He's actually been pushing to be a write-in candidate for the mayor. Is the election November 3rd?
Yeah, it's November 3rd.
Okay.
Correct.
So he's gracious enough to give us a few minutes of his time and kind of give us some quick thoughts on himself and the other people that are running. So to begin with, Adam, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Let's start with Mayor Walling, the man presently in office. If you could just give us like a quick your thoughts on why he's not the man to have the job going forward.
Well, I call him Bribery Boy. There's a couple other nicknames out there, Downtown Dayne and Wiggly Walling. But the main reason is because he's a career politician. He's been a few different places. I don't think he's held office, but he's still basically a carpetbagger. If you're not aware of this, I believe it was Minnesota. He was treasurer of this organization called the Urban Coalition, which was found to have some malfeasance with their funds. There's a city councilman that is associated with the situation that was basically bribed into office, and the whole scheme was a redistricting scheme, which is really funny because that's kind of what's been going on in my neighborhood here. Is they've redistricted part of our historic district out of the historic district. But long story short with that one, when everything came to a head, he turned state's evidence, and when they got to him to turn state's evidence, his account had like $1.50 in it or something. And the councilman that was elected ended up doing 30 months in prison. I think it was bribery charges, some sort of financial malfeasance. So, I mean, that's the bottom line right there. He calls himself a Rhodes Scholar. He didn't beat anybody. But, I can't think of any other reason other than he's simply a career politician that doesn't really give a crap about anybody in Flint, so.
Well, that actually is a pretty good lead-in to the next subject. Karen Weaver is most definitely not a career politician. She, as far as I'm aware, most of her career has been spent on various boards and whatnot that perhaps have political elements to them. But she's Dr. Weaver. She has a PhD, so maybe in a similar manner, you could explain to people why you don't think she's right for the job either.
I think she's a psychologist. I think that's her doctorate or whatever, her PhD. But, well, my personal main reason is because she has done nothing but been on boards, and that is very political too. She might not be a carpetbagger like Walling, but very personally, she sat on the board at Hurley. And I think she's still on the board at Hurley, and I'm not sure if she realizes that if she is elected, she's got to resign from that position, or at least take a leave, because that would be a violation of the Incompatible Public Offices Act. But my personal beef with her is that she sat on this board at Hurley while we suffered for the last 15 years with Hurley violating the Historic District Ordinance, the section known as demolition by neglect, for 15 years solid, and has never made a peep about it the entire time she's been on the board. So I mean, you're talking about an organization like Hurley that used to have Heartland Manors nursing home over here. They wanted to tear down all of our houses in this 4-block area, didn't have any consideration for the neighborhood, bought up properties in contemplation of doing that, and when they lost Medicaid certification because they treated the elderly at the nursing home so terribly, then they had to abandon the idea of putting a nursing home here. So the result was 15 years of local ordinance being violated. And from what I understand, she simply sat on the boards and has never actually said or done anything, and just voted accordingly in order to keep her position, safe. And the other issue is, she really doesn't have any social experience when it comes to activism or politics anyway. And I think she's relying heavily on assaulting Walling on this water issue as a main, part of her campaign. And really, I mean, when it comes to the water, yes, Walling's partially to blame, but there's a lot of other blame to go around for a lot of years. We're talking about an ancient infrastructure. Regardless of how long Walling's been in office, he didn't build the infrastructure, and he's not responsible for the failing infrastructure. He may have responsibility in other areas concerning the water, but it's not solely his fault. So to rely on that as a crutch, that and these pastors that are her support network, have no respect for the local pastors. I don't think they really are that concerned about their own flock, and I would consider them sycophantic in terms of social issues. They just jump on board or whatever issue is going to get them attention, So bottled water is not going to solve anything. It's actually going to put more money in the pockets of the bottled water companies and completely avoid the real issue about the water. And like I said, in the meantime, Weaver's using that as a crutch to try to get into office. So,
Well, that brings us to the last man standing then. If you could share with us why you would be a candidate to take seriously in this upcoming election.
well, because I have lived here most of my life. Most people in Flint know me, and they either love me or hate me, and it's usually for the right reasons. I have been an activist all my life, mostly around human rights issues, and I have lots of accomplishments. I haven't just ran out in the street with a sign and protested, but I've actually accomplished things like we got, when I lived in California, we got condoms in high schools in San Francisco. We got the AIDS drug program in California to add 8 drugs when new drugs for people with HIV were around for several years, and there was no attempt to put those on the program to help people. I mean, those are just examples. I could go on and on and on. But I have an in-depth understanding of how government works, how politics work, and I'm not a politicker. I don't play those games. I don't have any private interests trying to influence my decision. I earnestly care about people and what happens to people and the city, and I'm not going to have groups like Uptown Investments or Kettering or U of M influence my overall decisions on what I would do for the people. But the main thing I want to say is that I believe that this town and every other town in this country deserves a better, higher class of civil servant, and I think the only way to demonstrate that is to go into office, not accept a paycheck, not accept a retirement pension, not accept any stipends whatsoever, and simply work for the people. And I'm not going to be like Don Williamson and turn around and come back and sue for the money 6 years later. So, I mean, I'm for the people, bottom line. I don't need any money, and I can show you that we can actually change things. But you need somebody willing to do that and go against the private interests. So,
Adam Gerics, Adam, thank you for your time, and look forward to talking to you more soon.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.